Hey, we are live here back in the United States. I was in England with Annabelle for a couple of days, but I wanted to catch this whole narrative of what's happening with the shooting in Florida. I heard something really interesting from Rush Limbaugh today on what's his name? Not Chris Matthews, Chris Wallace, right? For the Fox News. Check it out.
That's what has to change. And it's going to take some really smart people to figure out how to do that without violating civil liberties and the Fourth Amendment and so forth. But it's clear that the way we deal with this now, Chris, this is totally political. These students think they're taking politics out of this. The minute they bash the NRA,
Chris Wallace, right.
And the point for many of this is this is an event that advances a political agenda for the American left of the Democrat Party. Bash the NRA.
Let me pick up on something you said, because at one point you just said at the beginning, I could be snarky and I could say, well, maybe the FBI should stop wasting so much time. And you have suggested this in a kind of provocative way on your radio show, that the FBI is spending too much time.
Look, I'm going to fast forward through this part because, they're just going to show a quote from President Trump saying a little less time with the FBI chasing Russians.
Time wasting, and it isn't going to take us anywhere. And it's all Chris.
But I want you to catch this.
Everything has become politicized.
That's it.
In this country, and that's why we can't solve anything. The minute, and I'll tell you who the primary perpetrators are of making it political.
Watch this.
The media. The media carries one side of this argument, the anti-gun, anti-NRA, and they promote anything and anybody that is promoting that and advocating that. Once that happens, you can forget about a solution. We're never
crazy, right? So,
So here's my take on this thing. Yeah, there are laws that are stupid. I mean, I'm not one of those NRA supporters to the point where everything that they do I think is right. I think it's crazy that you got to get a background check and be 21 or something to be able to get a handgun, but at 18 you can get an automatic weapon with 1 hour's computer investigation. So there's clearly something screwball there, but the point is, it gave me chills when I heard Rush saying this earlier. He said, "Look, the next shooter is already out there, and he already has a gun. None of the marches is going to change what's happening because it's an American culture phenomenon. It has to do with the culture of America. And you have better background checks, make it harder. But if you've got a culture that feeds on lawlessness and violence, when you've got, frankly, the Democratic Party funding Antifa to go ahead and destroy property, when you have the kind of race militancy that goes on with movements that Soros is funding. And this is all intentional in order to divide Americans from Americans for the purpose of creating political power. You created a culture that is going to be increasingly violent and desensitized. And what's really scary is they keep playing off the frustration in media utilizing every event that happens to make it political in order to manipulate and spin and find some villain on the right. It's almost like you're dealing with the same spirit that was on Nero in Rome. When Rome burned, whatever the reason was for the burning, he wanted to blame the Christians. And that's pretty much what they're going to do. They're going to go, there's going to be a politicized spin on everything that happens. This kid needed deliverance. There was enough indication that he was out of control. 30 visits to the house from the police department, and the guy. What's the problem with data here? That we can monitor General Flynn and have him in danger of going to prison, but we don't have an FBI that can monitor and correlate the fact that someone has an automatic weapon, has been visited 30 times, and posted that they want to shoot people at school. What kind of absolute asininity is at work here in intelligence management when you got that kind of data and you ignore it because you're obsessed with political activity? So this is the great danger in America. Everything's becoming political. I mean, I'm even looking at the movies today. And so I come home and I'm reading on the Drudge Report, and it's saying that the Marvel movie Black Panther is like the #1 highest grossing movie out right now in the Marvel series. But what I'm trying to figure out is it's being used as a recruiting device by the Democratic Party in order to get people to be recruited. And it's actually at the theaters. You see, the left will ruin everything. It'll ruin a football game. It politicizes anything and everything because of the lust for power. That's more of what you've got now than anything. So I'm thinking that we have to know that the marches are going to happen, the students are going to be mobilized, and it breaks your heart to hear them because but the moment that they go after the NRA, they're playing into the media's narrative, which is to make the Democrats look like the people with the heart, when in fact the Democrats are the people that create the culture of lawlessness that festers and feeds into the system of anarchy that is becoming the United States, a nation without laws. So, where does the church show up? I would say to you and me that we have to start to pray. We've been praying for revival. I think what we need to do is we need to pray for thought leaders. We need to pray because I think we have an abstract idea that if we just pray, something's going to happen. It's going to get people saved. I don't think you're going to see a move of God that's an evangelism move in this country. I think that before that happens, you're going to see a persuasion move. I think we really need to start to see people raised up that are talking about the kind of culture we want to have and we want to live in, and what is destroying that culture. And I believe that the vast majority of Americans actually aren't represented by The View. They aren't represented by media. They aren't being represented by what's on television because, like I've done with Seven Mountains for 10 years, I've been saying this. Christians have abdicated the high places of entertainment, and the devil's not going to give you NBC, CBS, and ABC. And listen, there's a battle over Fox News. There's just one channel that gives an alternative viewpoint. We've got to contend for media. We have to get Christian philanthropists, the multimillionaires and billionaires, to sink tons of money into political causes and races. We got to start thinking strategically. We need to be buying media. We need to be buying studios. We need to be doing great art. And we need to be using and recognizing that the same platform that's used for propaganda by the devil can be used for the propagation of virtue by creative artists, creative media personalities. Whatever happened to academia? We're churning out a whole Marxist generation of students. We should be putting tons of money into campus activism and raising up C.S. Lewis chairs and conservative studies chairs. We should be insisting that there should be an equitable and fair representation of viewpoints on college campuses and in entertainment and in news. And you can't demand it in the sense of voted in, but you can certainly mobilize it. There's 30 million of us out there that all feel this way. And where are we organized? There's no organization. Does that make sense? All right, so once again, this shooting is a tragedy. That kid is loaded with devils. There was plenty of information there that he needed to have whatever weapons he had needed to be taken away from him. I don't understand why even gun owners are freaking out about the fact that if somebody is mentally unstable and full of devils, they should not have guns. Period. And if you've got a track record of that instability, there's no decision. There's no choice. You have to. Makes sense. So I'm just going to say this. There is an awakening that is happening right now, but it's going to be an awakening of us, people that have a spirit of truth and a spirit of perception, a spirit of awareness. And we have got to begin to get engaged in the media, in entertainment. We need to be organizing ourselves more, and we need to be putting out a perspective. Otherwise, these precious young people are being manipulated by the left to march and to set their sights on what? The NRA? You think the Democrats had, by the way, the Senate and the House and the White House. The Democrats had all the power they could have had to do what they want to do. They themselves haven't dealt with this issue because politicians love issues, because issues is what keeps them in power. So this is going to have to be something that's going to come up from people, and it can't be a media movement. It has got to be a real concerned citizen movement. I'm going to be talking to you guys later, and I'll check in with you. I'm just catching up on what's happening stateside. Bye-bye.